Good afternoon. Oh, there he is.
I was trying to do 8 things at once.
Hey, welcome in, Deni and Dusty with you. Happy Monday, everybody.
Glorious of Mondays.
July 1. We have turned over the calendar. Jeff Rust, I'd like a comment from you.
Holla at your boy.
It is July 1st, and you often say summer does not start in Oregon until July 5th.
Yeah.
Have you looked at the forecast this week?
Well, okay.
Are we starting summer?
What I usually say is you cannot count on
Yeah.
nice sunny weather until July 5th.
Well, it should be noted that July 5th, 95, July 6th, 102,
Yeah.
July 7th, 101.
Yeah. Opening up the oven.
July 8th,
Wait.
98 degrees.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
hallelujah.
Yeah, we have 80 today, 75 tomorrow, Wednesday, 81. A very warm 89 on the 4th of July. So, I mean, Rust, I think that your comment would be, look at July 5th.
Yeah.
And
there we go.
And there we go.
Summer's there.
Summer has started. All right. How's everybody doing? Everybody have a good weekend?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's a national holiday.
Yeah. NBA free agency
Indeed.
starting.
Yes.
It was not the start that we've come accustomed to seeing. To the start of free agency, the whole not leaking and
Tampering.
I don't want to say non-tampering. I want to
Yeah.
say being smart about the tampering and not being as egregious. I think that it took away a little bit of that NBA free agency smack you in the face that we know and love.
Yes, there's that, but there's also the lack of it being at midnight.
Yeah.
Like that, remember, like you can't
Yeah, start in the middle of a day.
you can't have shenanigans like locking somebody in their house with a chair.
Yeah. DeAndre Jordan.
Uh-huh.
DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah. I think we need to go back to that midnight start time.
It makes things weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaos.
We need that.
Make all of the executives fly somewhere. Like, imagine if Sam Presti and his crew, instead of like landing in Eugene at 1 PM, were landing there at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
You know what my favorite part of that was? Is people are like, or how do you even get to Eugene from Oklahoma City? A private jet. That's my answer.
Well,
a private
Yes.
jet.
It did happen, and
Private jet.
you had people in Oklahoma and Oregon tracking private jets, and it wasn't college football season.
Yeah, right? We're
like,
not looking
wow.
at college coaching trackers here. It would these private jets, all the really rich guys have them, and they use them. They go places that you can't normally fly direct to.
Well,
I don't
yes.
think Sam Presti was taking the puddle jumper from Oklahoma City to Denver, Denver to Seattle to Eugene.
Yeah, because it wouldn't. Yeah, well, the flip side of this is Clay Bennett is one of the poorer owners in the NBA, so maybe he's not flying in the G6.
Oh, maybe it's a G5.
Yeah, it's probably used. Remember, we had the, or they hired a charter.
Yeah. Oh,
Remember?
there you go.
They didn't want to spend $5,000 on the plane ticket, so they thought it'd be cheaper to fly charter.
Yeah. Okay. They just went that way. All right.
That's still that is going to forever live rent free in my head. Were you not here for that worst day? You were
No.
here for that one
What?
when we played the audio of the woman calling the
Oh,
charter agency.
yeah. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That was a deep pull. I was like, I don't know who did this. I remember Vince Young. He bought an entire Southwest Airlines flight for he and like his 20 buddies.
I mean, that's chartering, right?
That
Yeah.
probably still would have been cheaper than what
Yeah, he's
he
like,
called the charter agency for.
Want to get away?
Yeah.
And he did it. And then went to the Cheesecake Factory and bought a lot of Patron because apparently that was Vince Young's thing.
Patron.
At the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's definitely not being watered down at all there.
No.
Not if you're Vince Young.
Not if you're Vince Young. You just get that brand new bottle, pop that bad boy open. All right. Well, that's NBA free agency. That's all you did this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, if you'll notice on the 1080 The Fan social media is that posts went up at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You're just getting after it, huh? Just all NBA all the time for you.
Ugh.
Okay.
But yeah, no, there's
Explains your red eyes.
Yeah.
Thought you might have been like stoned or something.
no, yeah,
No,
that's-
you're just
I
up
went,
late looking at screens
Yep.
all night.
went glasses because my eyes were falling out of my head. So that happened.
That's great. That's great. I had a great weekend. I played 108 holes of golf from Thursday to Sunday.
Good God.
That sounds like a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot of golf. Me and a group of buddies went out to Central Oregon. We had a fantastic time, and we played a ton of golf and had a grand old time. You know, it was just it was a fantastic weekend over there. I heard it rained here.
Yeah, we
Rain-
did get
It did.
Yep,
Got
it
a
did
little
rain.
thunderstorm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't get that over there. But you know what sucks? And I wonder, how long does this take? Anytime I go over to Central Oregon, I go to the high desert, I get like boogers for days.
Oh yeah, it
dried
dries you
up.
out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it like right when I got home yesterday, I was like, oh my goodness. And it's just been a booger palooza over there. Is that what people live with over there? Or how long does it take
their
you to get
system
probably
used to
gets a
that?
bit
How
more
do you
used to it.
How do you get
live?
used to that? How long does it take? You know, it just dry air everywhere. It was crazy.
I love it. Dry air. Oh God, it's wonderful.
Nah, well, yeah. It's better than living like in swampy,
Yes.
humid air.
Ugh.
Just walking outside and you go,
Yeah, we wife and I went for a walk yesterday.
all right.
Yesterday, it was pretty swampy out. Super humid.
Yeah, a little humid.
Yeah, it's like, this, I don't like this. It's like
Don't
a
do it.
lot of swamp butt.
Don't
You
do it.
walk outside and you immediately feel like, I need a shower.
Oh, man.
Otherwise known as Alabama.
Alabama.
Alabama, like everybody, Florida gets hit. Like, yeah, no kidding. It's got an ocean on both sides of it.
Yeah, Mississippi's bad. People don't give Texas enough credit for how humid it is when you get to like southeastern Texas.
Yeah, when you get to the Gulf of Texas, like you get
Yeah.
down in Houston,
You get to-
it'll choke the life out of you.
Yeah,
Corpus Christi,
You
ugh.
walk outside and it's like 95 degrees with 90% humidity and you're just sweating instantly when you
Yeah.
walk outside. Yeah. See, these are problems we don't have here.
See, I did Fort Benning, Georgia, in August,
Mm.
and I wanted to die. I wanted to die. That was my first time, like really getting hit with like humidity with heat like that.
Yeah.
And I was like 18, and I was like, just
No, what's wrong with the air here?
yeah. I'm like, why can I
What
chew
are we
the air?
doing? What are we doing here?
Yeah, and I was like, people actively want to live here,
Yeah. And they do.
and it's just
You
like,
just get used to it.
oh
You
no,
just
there's,
get used
there's
to
no
it.
getting
You
used
just
to that.
get. That's what they tell me.
Yeah, no.
Well, one of my buddies that came up and golfed with us, he came from Dallas, and he was just like, "It's so pleasant here." You know, you
Oh,
can't.
see, I love Dallas.
You
It's
can't.
dry.
It's 95 degrees and just hot. It's like a furnace that gets
Mm.
kicked on. He's just like, it's actually pleasant to live up and be outside here.
Yeah, let's see what he says. What
I
the
did
other
get-
6 months?
It was my first time in I can't remember how long. We were playing in the evening, and I got in one day 30 mosquito bites. 30 mosquito bites. Was not ready for the mosquitoes
Good
to come out.
God.
Yeah, and I didn't even get the worst of it. I got a buddy who, I'm not kidding, couldn't count them. He had like 70, 80 mosquito bites
Like
on
that.
him.
That's like
They were
that
all
can,
over
like,
the place.
do real damage to you.
Yeah, he's got. I'm pretty sure he's probably got malaria. But
Good God.
yeah, it was like we just got eaten alive on the first night. And
Were you
then-
guys like rolling around in honey?
No, playing golf near water. And it was just brutal. So second day we came prepared, and happy to report, bug spray works.
It
Guys.
turns out.
it really works. But my buddy who got eaten alive, he gets super itchy. I don't get itchy when I get mosquito bites. I just get little red
depends on
bumps.
where you get bit from.
But he was a mess. I mean, it looked like he had chicken pox.
Yeah.
It was all over. Mosquitoes, what do they do? Can we, if like we eradicated mosquitoes, would we be okay?
It's-
Like, what service do they perform?
Uh-huh.
They're a massive food source for like all birds.
Okay, well, birds, pick it up a little bit,
Yeah.
huh? Can we get you to pick it up
do
a
what
little
you
bit?
need
It
to do.
seems like they procreate at a rate that is far too large for the appetites of these birds.
I think you guys are bearing the lead here.
Yeah.
First off, birds aren't real.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that is true. That is true. I read that.
On the interwebs.
I seen that on the internet. Yeah, that is. Those birds need to step their game up because that is not cool,
Yeah.
dude.
And if mosquitoes' best function is feeding, fake birds, what do we need them for?
All right. So
Yeah,
Rust,
That's just science.
I think you should run for president on that platform right there.
Listen to my podcast.
Oh man, here's a text. I came back from Vegas last Friday. Was at a funeral. Oh, sorry. 109 outside, 117 inside for the funeral. What in the world? 100. See, that's something.
Well, you weren't here.
People
when
are
we
moving to Phoenix, and people are moving to Vegas
Well,
to live indoors.
You weren't here when we talked about the heat dome in England.
75.
75.
75.
I loved it too. They showed pictures like on all the headlines of people like dipping their head in fountains. Just it's so hot, I'm melting.
And I'm like,
It's 75
when
degrees.
I heard heat dome, I'm like, oh man, they must have like real like 95 plus, because like in a place that's normally crappy, 95 plus, like you're like, yo, yeah, no, that's a real thing. Like when you start getting 95 plus in a place that just does not have air conditioning at all, it is a problem.
That is a big problem, and it's a reasonable complaint.
Yeah.
You're just like
75, dog. You're 5 degrees above room temperature.
Yeah.
What are we doing
well,
here?
Begs the question: what is room temperature in jolly old London town?
God, you're right.
I don't know. Maybe you
It's probably
are actually
it's probably 12 degrees
red coat.
Celsius.
now
I
you
don't know
lost
what
me.
that means.
Now you completely lost me.
Yeah, I know.
Anytime the bank little thing goes from Fahrenheit to Celsius, I'm lost.
You know,
I have no
like,
idea.
why are we showing this here? We don't care.
Yeah, my buddy lived in Canada for a while. He used to be like, "Okay, here's a conversion," and he explained it to me. I didn't know what that meant. He was like, "Yeah, you minus 37 plus 2," and I was like, "That sounds like minus 35."
It would be about 54 degrees.
54 degrees.
Yeah. So the
is
formula is 12 degrees Celsius times 9/5.
12.
And then,
Okay. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be able to do
And then
that.
you add 32.
You lost me at 9/5.
Yeah.
I have no idea how to do that math.
Well,
That would be 1 4/5. Yeah. Anyway.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
There you go.
Rust, my face right now.
Yeah. Blank.
Nope. So almost
What's
two.
really dumb
almost
about it-
times 2.
Almost
right?
times 2.
So
they do
okay,
all of
this
that
is what I'm
just
gonna
so
do.
they know the temperature of freezing and boiling.
Okay.
And it's like, but you're almost never at freezing or boiling, so why don't you just use Fahrenheit?
Okay. But here's the thing. I think they're onto something.
No.
I kind of
No.
do. If 0 is freezing, that does make sense.
Okay, but you're never at 0 or boiling.
In Canada, they are.
Yeah. No. Okay. But
Here
listen,
we are.
100 degrees Fahrenheit sounds hot, right? That just sounds like it should be hot.
Yeah.
37.7 degrees does not sound hot
Doesn't sound hot.
No.
Doesn't
in
sound
Celsius. No.
hot. Mm-mm.
Doesn't sound hot.
No.
So yeah, switch rest
Yeah.
of the world.
This one we have right.
Okay. All right. It's double, add 30. How about we do that? Can we just do that? We double it, add 30.
Close enough.
So, yeah, it is close enough. Because you said 54 degrees would be 12 degrees Celsius. Times 2 is 24 plus 30. Put you right at 54.
Yeah.
We're
It was
good.
like
Double.
53.6, but I rounded up because I'm an
Oh,
ugly,
God.
'cause I'm
But
an
that-
ugly American.
What would
that's
I
the-
have ever
Well, that's
done?
the thing is they don't ever tell you on the news or the weather when they go to the weather report. They don't go 53.6 or 12.6 or whatever. They just say 12.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying. Fahrenheit is a more accurate representation of what the actual temperature is.
All right.
I don't care about freezing or boiling because if you don't understand when something freezes or when something boils, you're an idiot.
All right. You may have won me over on that.
America.
Do you wait for the water to boil
You know what?
or do you wait for it to get to a temperature?
Yeah. I mean, this is far too close to 4th of July for me not to just say, America, yes.
I'm just saying.
Let's go.
But if you're waiting for the water to boil,
Yeah.
are you waiting for it to get to a temperature or are you waiting for it to bubble?
Bubble.
Okay.
That's what I'm doing.
So
right
do you
there.
need to know the temperature of it? No.
No, not at all. All right, you want sports now?
Fine.
All right.
I want to talk about boiling water some more.
Okay. Let's Rust is going to go through the break on YouTube. He's just going to be talking to you about water boiling. You add a little salt to it. You add some olive oil when you put noodles in to make sure it doesn't foam over the edge. Is that what you do? These are the questions you'll find out during the break when Rust definitely will not be.
And the
on
boiling
mic.
point of water in Fahrenheit, 212 degrees. That's where you finally get to 100 degrees Celsius.
All right. Well, let's get to this sporting portion of the show. Danny did not sleep last night, and he's been on a screen for the last 48 hours because free agency is well underway in the NBA.
Indeed.
Not the frantic start we've come accustomed to, but the Blazers' free agent activity is something that we've come accustomed to. Not a lot of movement here, but some massive moves made, and it is highlighted by PG-13 heading to Philly next on The Fan. All right, we limped into the NBA free agency period because of the new rules that the NBA has put into place about tampering, and if we're just being quite honest here, all it had to do with is just don't make the tampering so apparent, everybody. But it was a slow start to the NBA free agency period, but that didn't stop the newsmakers and movers and shakers in the world of NBA with the veiled, well, this is what I believe will happen, and here we are as every hour passes. All of those, I believe this is what it will happen, is all coming to fruition, including 12:30 in the morning, Paul George of the Los Angeles Clippers signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. This, of course, after yesterday, the Clippers, with a move that is pretty rare.
A 4-page wine.
A 4-pager of, hey, Paul George is not going to re-sign with us.
So
this is our explanation as to why, because that Oklahoma City trade for Paul George is looking worse and worse with every passing day.
Well, there's also the line of, well, the second Abram, it's really a problem, and screw it. I'm going to get into it.
Let's get into it.
That part of this right now. The Clippers offered a 3-year deal, which would match the timeline of Kawhi Leonard, and they offered a 2-year, $75 million deal to James Harden, which, what the hell was that about? But let's do the math here real quick. They would have been a second Abram team this year. They would have been a second Abram team next year. And the likelihood is they probably would have been a second Abram, or they would have probably had a duck out of and then been a second Abram team in year 4, which is what Paul George wanted. So if you're already at that point and you don't have any draft assets left, what's the difference between giving Paul George a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal? And the reality is there isn't one. They're finding, I think what ended up happening was Kawhi Leonard signed his deal in January in the midst of the Clippers on a absolute heater of a roll. And Paul George said, nah, I want 4 years. And things are going so well right then that Paul George is like, I'll get my 4th year. Everything will be fine. Well, then everything falls apart and guys start picking up injuries and the Clippers play like crap down the stretch. And I think the Clippers looked at things and went, this is not going to work. These guys are not going to stay healthy. We cannot give Paul that 4th year. And it gave them an excuse to get out of the Paul George business. And before everybody's like, well, they could have gotten something to the Warriors. Well, that something wasn't something good. So I had heard Friday, I think I talked about on the show, the Warriors are trying to make a real push for Paul George, which is why Chris Paul opted in to push his date out, or to push his extension out on Saturday, or his guarantee date out on Saturday. But the sticking point was the Warriors, and this is hilarious, are basically treating Jonathan Kuminga like a potential all-star and not making him available in anything. And I heard Zach Lowe say this on his podcast Thursday. I was driving home listening to that. Might have been Thursday or Friday. I almost crashed when he said the same thing. Like, the Warriors see him, and they shouldn't put him in that. And I'm like, okay, we've entered the prestige zone around Jonathan Kuminga a little too much.
And when you look at it in these terms as well, the 3-year versus a 4-year deal, you're also looking at the alignment of all of the picks that the Clippers are conveying to the Oklahoma City Thunder.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't make sense because the last pick that goes out is that 2028 year, which would be heading into his final year on his extension, which is a 4-year, $212 million deal, is that 28-29 season. So when that contract expires for Paul George, you're getting all your picks back anyway.
So if you're going to have the the hard reset conversation, then have it then. But now, if you kind of go back over the past, not even 12 months, 10 months, the James Harden deal, the Philadelphia 76ers traded James Harden for Paul George and picks because they got picks in that deal. I'm sorry. They traded James Harden and PJ Tucker for Paul George and the Clippers picks. It is unhinged what they just did to the Clippers.
Well, the Philly doing that, but let's look at that OKC trade, which also they got Paul George from OKC. Okay, all the Clippers got was Paul George. That's it. What Oklahoma City got was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, the Clippers' first-round picks unprotected in 2022, 2024, 2028, Miami's first-round picks in 2023, 2028, pick swaps with the Clippers in 2023, 2025. That may go down as one of the worst trades in sports history. And this is up there with like the Dallas Cowboys, Minnesota Vikings because of the fact that they got one Western Conference Finals appearance out of it, 0 NBA Finals, 0 NBA championships out of it. And then Paul George leaves to go to Philly, the team that you gave up, what you just outlined, more picks in the future for James Harden. Like, all of this goes down as like you can lump all this together because you said essentially what it was. Philly traded James Harden for picks and Paul George now.
Quite the win. And I still think if you're the Clippers in 2019 going into 2020, you do this deal every single time because you have Kawhi Leonard, who just won a title.
By the way, one of those picks has already turned into Jalen Williams for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Not too shabby.
That is like, think of that. The core that they have built in Oklahoma City is based off of, one, they took the shortcut through hell. They were okay with being bad. They got Chet Holmgren, and then all of a sudden, here they are just stacking their roster. And Oklahoma City is looking fantastic moving out of this, but the Clippers are now stuck in a bind where you don't have any picks. If James Harden or Kawhi Leonard get hurt again this year, which who's ruling that out at this point? Because I think like what we've seen is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard kind of taking turns being injured, James Harden coming in and out of the lineup. If either one of those guys get hurt this year, it looks even worse moving forward for the Clippers because they don't hold anything, because those picks were all unprotected, and then they have pick swaps to go along with it. Think about this. The Clippers could hand, if Kawhi goes down with an injury or Harden goes down with an injury, the Clippers could hand Oklahoma City a lottery pick in the 2025 draft. Would that surprise you one bit? The 2025 coveted draft, a lot, because they have the pick swap with OKC.
Would it surprise me? No. I don't think it's very likely considering how things are lining up, particularly in both conferences, because you're Detroit, Portland, Brooklyn are guaranteed tanking. Like, they're guaranteed tanking. You're probably looking at 3 other teams in that same vein. Probably throw 3 more on there that will get to the 500 mark or the halfway mark of the season and go, because there's 5 guys in this draft. But if you're talking about, like, even if it's not a lottery pick, right on the fringe, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about Denver here a little bit later and what didn't happen for them. But top of the West right now, OKC, Dallas. Denver took a real step back, like a legitimate step back, and I don't know how they recoup that.
And Minnesota's more or less standing pat. But
so
Mike Conley is sold.
But they also got Rob Dillingham in the draft to be an offensive spark for them. So those are your top 3, I think, in the West right now, right? Phoenix has still got guys that are good. Denver's still got Jokic and Jamal Murray. Like, they're not going to be bad. They're just not going to be that same threat. Houston is still sitting there lurking.
Yeah.
And like, but you see how quickly you get to 7, 8, and you're like, are the Clippers in that level? And they're probably, they probably are. They're probably right there.
Is Sacramento going to rebound this year?
Look,
and
I don't know if we want to save that for later, but there's a lot going on in Sacramento. They're trying to make another big move.
Here's another one, too, is that all of a sudden, with Chris Paul going to San Antonio, it doesn't appear like they are going to be, tanking year 2 in Victor Wembanyama.
They are. Despite what they're showing, they're going to. They're going to tank one more year.
they're going to put in the side of the mountain.
Opportunity for them to get. And everybody's like, well, what if they get Cooper? I'm like, I'm less worried about them getting Cooper Flag and more worried about them getting
Bailey.
No, either Boogie Fland, Dylan Harper, or VJ Edgecombe. Those are the point guards in this draft, and they're all very, very high end. I don't know if you were here when I mentioned this the other day. I had a scout who I trust a ton say VJ Edgecombe reminds them of Anthony Edwards in a point guard, and I went, oh God.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Golly.
Imagine you put that kind of physicality and burst, but with like playmaking instincts alongside Victor Wembanyama. That's hell on earth.
Okay. Here's a question now coming out of the Paul George conversation is we can take a look at where Philly's at and how that ripple effect is kind of moving forward, because other free agency moves that have happened in the Eastern Conference are going to be impacting that race, because we have an extension signed in Boston. We've got some roster influx with the New York Knicks right now, and Philly may hold exactly what the Clippers had, which is potentially the best trio in the NBA, but can they stay healthy? We'll talk about it next after Rust with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, NBA free agency period opened yesterday with a smattering of moves, but the biggest in the wee hours this morning. Forward Paul George reportedly agreeing to a 4-year, $212 million max deal with the 76ers, with the final year being a player option. The 76ers also agreeing to a 5-year, $205 million max deal with guard Tyrese Maxey and a 2-year, $16.3 million deal with guard Kelly Oubre Jr. The Mavericks agreeing with shooting guard Klay Thompson on a 3-year, $50 million contract as part of a multi-team sign and trade that sends shooting guard Josh Green to Charlotte, but the Warriors still negotiating their return. Celtics guard Derek White agreeing to a 4-year, $125.9 million extension with a player option. Forward Derek Jones Jr. to the Clippers for 3 years and $30 million. Former Blazer and the Shack of Troutdale center Drew Eubanks to the Jazz, 2 years, $10 million. Warriors and shooting guard DeAnthony Melton, 1 year and $12.8 million. Milwaukee and guard DeLon Wright for a year and $3.3 million. And the Blazers bringing back forward Justin Minaya on a 2-way contract. Over on the diamond, the Mariners off today before welcoming the Orioles for a 3-game set. Seattle has dropped 8 of their last 11 in each of their last 4 series. Lead over the Astros in the AL West is down to just 3.5 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan.
How much risk do you think there is in this Paul George deal for the 76ers, though, where you think of it, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Paul George. It's a pretty damn good trio.
You're forgetting
in the NBA
Pretty
right
Kelly. Kelly Oubre.
Yeah, he signed an extension in Philly. All right.
They couldn't keep Batum, though.
Stay off your bike. Batum goes back to the Clippers.
Yep.
But
he was going to retire, too. Now he just took a 2-year deal.
That trio of Embiid, George, Maxey.
Really good.
I mean, one of the best in the NBA.
Health permitting, for sure.
But that is the exact same thing that the Clippers just went through, which is guys that had a history of injuries. They come together, and guess what? Doomed them. Their injuries.
I mean, the thing with the Sixers it's not necessarily Paul George's. It's like, well, Paul George has injuries. It doesn't matter. Paul George has injuries or not, it doesn't matter. It's Joel Embiid.
Absolutely.
You do whatever you can to get whatever you can around Joel Embiid, because if your title hopes hinge on Joel Embiid.
100%.
So if
you do it.
So if Paul George is like, well, he's got a history of being dinged up. Doesn't matter if you don't get there without Joel Embiid anyways. So you go get the best players possible to put around him. Red flags be damned, because your window, you can't wait with Joel. He's not going to play into his 40s.
Nope.
He's got probably 2 years left.
Yeah.
Before he really, he's already breaking down. It's just, the reality of the situation is he's 7'1", he's 350 pounds, and you just can't continue to play on that frame. It was particularly with all of his injuries, back, foot. I mean, it's just, something's going to happen. So you just say, screw it, and you go with it. Now, the risk is only financial, because they gave up nothing to get him other than cap space. And what other player out there is better than Paul George that was available?
Nobody.
Okay.
Not one.
So the 76ers maxed out their capability. If you're talking about when you try to min-max something, getting the most possible out of something, they did that.
Yeah. And meanwhile, the Boston Celtics, they signed Derek White to an extension today.
Where are they finding this money?
Well, yeah, that's a really good question, and I wanted to ask you. 4 years, $125.9 million, okay? Pre-extension, which will kick in after this next season, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this 24-25 season, the Boston Celtics, this is according to Spot Track, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Derek White. 5 guys, right? They accounted for 116.2% of the salary cap available. Okay? For 2025-26, those same 5 players will account for 117%. Now, that is just telling me we are looking at a team that is, they know window open, obviously, just won a title, but are they just signaling right now that what their plan is just to pay an absorbent amount of money in the tax and then lose picks? Because that's what happens under the new CBA, correct? You just, if you're a repeat offender in the second apron,
2 out of 4 years, it'll push your pick to the very end, and then after that, you will lose the pick.
See, now here is my question about picks that have been traded in the new CBA, right? What happens to those? Because the Clippers own, or the Thunder own the Clippers picks, right? Will it just stay slotted?
I
where
believe
it would be?
that's the case. I'll have to dig into
but
that.
If they own it, because that could just throw a wrench into teams just being like, okay,
screw it,
trade a first.
Yeah, no. What you do is you purposely put yourself in that bracket to make sure they get no value out of the pick.
Exactly.
So there's got to be a prohibition on that. And taking a look at the Celtics tax, as much as they are right now, they're at 191 million, going basically 192 million this year. They're at 193 next year already, and that's with 4 less guys on the roster. Yeah,
and that's just
good Lord.
It's crazy but Boston is going in. This is what I think every Blazer fan in the world would want from the hometown team, is to have a window where you can say, yep, we're going to push all in and we're going to be in that competitive range, right? And have that championship window and maximize it as long as you possibly can. Philly got better with the addition of Paul George. Boston is standing pat with their core that just won a championship.
Which you should.
The New York Knicks, they have obviously taken a step up with the OG Anunoby extension, right?
Mikal Bridges trade.
Mikal Bridges trade.
They did
but,
lose Isaiah
yeah,
Hartenstein, and that is a massive hit.
And that is a big one because that is a center who doesn't require a lot of shots behind him, but he is a rim protector.
Great playmaker, heady player.
A very good passer as well. And he goes to Oklahoma City for 3 years, $87 million, where the Thunder went full court press, flew out to Eugene. For those that don't know, he was born in Eugene.
Yep.
His dad played for Oregon and then went over and played professionally over in Germany. And so he grew up in Germany and played there now. But
which is how he's a light-skinned black dude named Hartenstein.
Okay, yeah.
For those that don't know, I'm not joking.
Yeah. Well, Josh Hart, he was floored by it. He made several social media posts.
Yes.
Just totally unaware.
When he found out that Isaiah was half black.
Yeah. He was like, I don't believe it.
No way. No,
do not believe it.
No, he just got the other half.
So Thunder go in, and that chips away a little bit at the New York Knicks, though.
Mm-hmm.
They will have
they
Julius
have
Randle back, though.
Well, they have front court issues that they need to figure out. In that Mitch Robinson is a big force, but he's also been injury prone. Same with Julius Randle. And talking to folks around the league this past week, who's the Julius Randle team? And it's like, it's a good question. Who is the Julius? Like, nobody really makes sense, like, right out of the gate as the Julius Randle team. And so you kind of figure, see? And so, because it feels like he's the odd man out. I've talked to a few players in the league who are like, they brought in Mikal and they re-signed OG and they got the Nova Knicks all together. And they're like, okay, what does that look like when Julius Randle wants the ball?
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, that's a thing that they haven't seen. And so the natural inclination with all of this stuff is to always like project linearly. Like, oh, it'll just keep going up. But it's like, well, when you add in another ingredient, sometimes it doesn't work. And so, like, that's a question I think people have, and I think it's fair. And I don't think Julius is like some complete a-hole that's going to go out there and derail things. But I mean, everybody's got to do what they got to do for themselves at certain points. Then that means sometimes you need to get some shots up or be the center of attention. Or that's why Mikal kind of wanted to spread his wings, so to speak, in Brooklyn. Those opportunities to get paid are there, and that's the thing is Mikal's. They paid a lot to get him in draft capital, but when he's up for his next contract, he's going to get paid mightily.
He's going to get a lot of money.
And that's an apron issue that the Knicks are going to have to juggle. They're just lucky that they have guys on really good deals already, particularly in their best player in Jalen Brunson.
Look, in all of this as well, as we're talking about the East and how competitive it's going to be, by the way, the Milwaukee Bucks are still there and hopefully healthier, but they've got their questions that they need to start figuring out, front court especially, as you highlighted last week with Brook Lopez getting long in the tooth. But as it pertains to the Isaiah Hartenstein, too, is you look at it, Oklahoma City's starting lineup now is SGA, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren playing the 4, right? And Hartenstein playing the 5, with your bench consisting of, remember, Alex Caruso and the fleecing that they got there, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe.
Who they both just re-signed.
And the other Jalen Williams.
Yeah.
Like, that is a young, deep roster in Oklahoma City.
Look, they should be forced to move one of those Jalen Williams.
Just for the sake of being confusing.
Yeah,
well, one with a Y and one without a Y.
Yeah, I still can't tell you which one is which.
Okay. Well,
the one that barks is the JALEN. He's Cody's brother.
Take this up with Jalen Rose's mom.
Yeah.
He claims to be the first Jalen ever. Yeah.
There's actually some proof to it. So.
Is there really?
Yeah.
All right.
It's kind of funny.
Don't blame them. Blame Jalen Rose's mom, okay?
No, I blame the Thunder front office for taking 2 Jalen Williams. They didn't have to do that.
Maybe they just got confused and were like, "We'll take them both."
Like they got the first one and went, "Oh crap, we got the wrong one."
But those are smart, savvy moves that you're seeing from contending teams in both the East and West that are looking to take that next jump. I don't know how Boston is going to navigate this, especially because it was announced today that they're selling the team.
Yeah, I mean, Wick Gersbeck made a hell of a move going, yeah, I want a title, and I'm going to reap all the money from all the merchandise sales and everything else that comes along with this, but also I'm going to divest in the next 4 years. That's the thing is, yes, he's selling the team, but not until he gets all the money from this title run, and then he'll pay some of the taxes, but he won't be on the hook for all of them.
No, and
he's going to be out by 2028.
They bought if you didn't know this, they bought the team in 2002 for $360 million. One of the most prominent brands in all of sports, the Boston Celtics. They will sell it 22 years later for $5 billion.
Probably
is where they're starting.
I'd say it's probably going to end up at 6. I think that's the going suspicion.
Coming off of a title, and he's going to saddle the next owner with, all right, well, I don't have to deal with this luxury tax situation, this roster situation. You will.
And they have
$200 billion.
Yeah,
you're damn right.
But and not only that, they don't have any like young assets going forward, like when you project 4 years out.
Wow.
So,
all right.
Good luck.
Hey, let's start diving into the latest with the hometown team, though. The Portland Trailblazers are very quiet in the free agent market, but it does not appear that they've been quiet behind the scenes with the guys that are actively on their roster. Basketball coverage on The Fan is presented by T-Mobile. Switch to T-Mobile, and you can get tons of benefits and still save on every plan versus AT&T and Verizon. Use their savings calculator to find out how at T-Mobile.com/switch. Danny and Dusty on The Fan. Hometown team, the Portland Trailblazers, pretty uneventful in the free agent market, and that was expected. We all knew that that was going to be the play. But that doesn't mean that the Portland Trailblazers are inactive behind the scenes. It sounds like there's a lot brewing with the Portland Trailblazers in trading some of the assets that they currently hold. The one that we keep hearing pop up again and again is Jeremy Grant. Teams have looked in. We heard Dallas last week was kicking the tires and calling on Jeremy Grant to Portland. And now the Lakers late last week emerged as a team that was also trying to make a move for Jeremy Grant, and that one seems to keep popping up.
Yeah, I heard yesterday morning the Lakers and Blazers were engaging in talks about Jeremy Grant. The Blazers appear to be holding steadfast to wanting both the first-round picks that the Lakers can offer, which is 2029, 2031. Which version of salary ballast is... I'm getting mixed messages on whether or not it's D'Angelo Russell or a combination, or I should say D'Angelo Russell or if it's a combination of Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. So, my understanding from the folks that I've talked to is that the Rui Gabe Vincent package makes more sense for the Trailblazers because Rui Hachimura could also be your 4 going forward, and he's not young, he's younger, he's 26. It would also push the burden of responsibility on both ends of the floor more towards the younger guys because you wouldn't have the Jeremy Grant to lean on, which would be a pivot from the franchise. So it's not a small thing that if they look to do that, it's also they would then be looking to get multiple picks out of Jeremy Grant. Now, I've been told that the Blazers aren't motivated to just move Jeremy just to move him.
Yeah.
So as of right now, I would be surprised if they moved him without getting both first-round picks. But the Lakers are swinging and swinging and swinging, and they have connected on absolutely nothing.
No, and really it's down to because there is a report that's out there that LeBron James is willing to take a lesser money in order to bring in another big name.
The only name left is DeMar DeRozan.
And that is, and Jeremy Grant.
Well, yeah. But Jeremy's just via trade.
Yeah, he
doesn't have
via
to
trade, but he has got 3 years in a player option left, and it's escalating 29, 32, 34, 34, or 36 rather, in the player option year. This is now coming to a point where, the Lakers, you've got to connect on something, and it's got to be DeMar DeRozan because they missed on whether Paul George was believable or not. Klay Thompson was another name that they were linked to. Chris Paul was another guy that was linked to. Banana Boat sails again, and Chris Paul goes to San Antonio. Jonas Valanciunas.
James Harden.
Yeah. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, LeBron basically let out a list of players he'd take the pay cut for, and DeMar's really the only guy left in that vein. So, and if they don't do that, he's going to go, screw you, give me my $50 million.
Wow. And then just be gone.
So, enjoy
after a year.
Enjoy the Bronny James experience, guys.
Oh boy. But how would these salaries match up? Because you mentioned Rui Hachimura and Gabe Vincent. That would be around $28 million. Yeah, that would be coming
Blazers
in this year.
Save money.
And it's 29 for Jeremy Grant. If you're looking at D'Angelo Russell, he's at $18.6 million, and you'd have to add another name in there, right?
You could do Gabe Vincent.
Gabe Vincent again.
You could do Jared Vanderbilt. Do a couple different versions of it, but yeah, the money's known. It's not that hard. It's the draft capital. And the Blazers are a team, we've heard Joe Cronin, and I've talked to him and his front office and people up and down the organization. They don't just want draft capital, which is why they went and traded for Deni Avdija. They want functional, tangible players. Draft capital is good, so you could make moves later, but I don't think they would want just cast-offs and picks. They would want Rui because Rui's a younger player who kind of fits their timeline and positionally makes sense for them. You could say the same thing about Jared Vanderbilt, that he would make sense for them, but the Lakers probably want to keep one of those guys. So, okay, that's fine. D'Angelo Russell is just not somebody I think meets any kind of criteria for the Trailblazers at all, unless you're trying to find a third team for him as a different landing spot and extracting something from them.
In both those guys, so if you're looking at Jared Vanderbilt, he's got 3 years and a player option remaining on his deal, and that's right around that 10, working up to 13 million. And Rui Hachimura has got 2 years left on his deal at 17 and 18 million dollars apiece. And so when you're talking about those timelines, age-wise, they fit, but also contract length. It's not like it's an expiring deal after this year. You can work through some stuff this year, and then next year, that which is when Portland would realistically be saying, all right, time to pick it up and start moving. It's time to start winning basketball games again. Both of those timelines match up far better than where Portland is at right now with Jeremy Grant.
And so, again, this is the first time I've heard Jeremy Grant being on the table in any kind of reasonable matter of the Blazers entertaining real offers. They are not motivated to move him in the sense of moving him just for the sake of moving him. They want value out of him. And if they don't get it, they're not going to move him.
All right, let's start hour number 2 with where the movement or lack of movement by some teams that are contenders may push forward some more Blazers moves as well, because we're talking about that with the Lakers and Jeremy Grant. Are there other names and players that may be available that are going to come up based on some of the moves that have happened so far in the free agent market? This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
So
Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Monday afternoon. I hope everybody's having a great day. We are too, whether you're listening on the Fan, 99.5 HD2, the Odyssey app, youtube.com/1080am the Fan, or twitch.tv/1080am the Fan. Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
There we go. All right. We've got a lot that we need to unpack here as it pertains to the Portland Trailblazers, because we talked about the biggest news kind of brewing around Portland, which is the potential of Jeremy Grant and a Lakers trade that has been out there, and who knows what's going to happen there. Should be noted, you know when the last time the Blazers did a deal with the Lakers was? I think I saw this from Tom Havistro.
It's like 72.
It was 1980. And remember, we were sitting there when the Nets and the Knicks did a deal. We were like, "Oh my God, it was 1983.
Been a long time.
It's been longer."
Mm-hmm.
Anything that helps the Lakers, I'm out on. We know that. Hand up, bias. Not a Laker guy. Do not like them. So I would not like to help the Los Angeles Lakers.
No, and that's why I think the Blazers, if they make that deal, are going to make sure they get every pound of flesh that comes along with that. And there is a standing relationship, though, because there are members of Clutch, Rich Paul's agency, LeBron's agency. Let's call it what it is.
Jeremy Grant,
Chauncey Billups, Yusuf Nurkic. There's been quite a few people who have come through that have been more recently Clutch linked or represented members of the organization who have gotten deals, and that those relationships matter. I mean, Neil Olshey, it wasn't just because that he just liked those players. He basically signed everyone in free agency that was a Mark Bartelstein client because he has a relationship with that agent.
Yep.
And that those things happen across. Go take a look at everyone Detroit basically has brought in for years. They have some relationship to WME because Arn Tellem, the vice president, used to run WME. Like it's people do not truly understand how integrated this stuff is.
Is Tobias Harris a WME client? Because he just signed a 2-year, $52 million deal with the Detroit Pistons, which if you were wondering, heading into free agency, the 76ers had the most cap space, $61.3 million. They went and blew right through that with the Paul George signing. The Pistons, they have $51.1 million because everybody is ridiculously young, so they went out and got Tobias Harris, which this man, he's getting the bag over and over again. Good for him.
Not only that, he has a good reputation in Detroit. Somewhere that's where he kind of got his start.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that more than anything because he's got I shouldn't say off-brand. He has a lesser known agent.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the teams that maybe aren't connecting in free agency, haven't connected in free agency, or have missed on guys like Isaiah Hartenstein. It was reported, all right, it would be the Knicks, it could be the Orlando Magic, or the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Magic are sitting there with $49.5 million of cap space. What might it look like with the Orlando Magic, which it seems like for 4 or 5 years, Portland and Orlando have been linked on making a deal that we just haven't seen come to fruition. They need a lot of help in a lot of spaces. But they need shooting is a major priority for them.
As active as things have been, I've not heard anything about Anthony Simons, either from the Blazers side of things or from the outside team side of things, or from Anthony Simons' agency, BDA, Bill Duffy. So I think that they're looking at the landscape right now and trying to figure out what they want to do. That's where I think the Anthony Simons stuff is right now. I don't feel like there's anything. There's no ball moving.
No,
for anyone in that sense yet. Orlando, they went with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Yep.
Does that close the door on Anthony Simons? No. Does that make things harder? I don't really think so. I think it's just different because it's not. You don't really worry about the cap space because they
have plenty of it.
Even after signing KCP, I think they have another $25 million, give or take. But there's this opportunity there still. Because as it sits right now, their starting lineup would essentially be Jalen Suggs, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter Jr. And as good as that is,
so much length.
You're still missing what?
Shooters.
You're missing some shooting. Like it's a little. Like the Knicks, if they go small and they go Brunson, Hart, McHale, OG, Randall, or swap out Hart for DiVincenzo, whatever you want to have the shooting on the floor. You're still like, you're not a great shooting team.
Yeah.
Like you're a good shooting team, but you're not a great shooting team. And so it's like all of these teams that have like these long, switchy, impactful defenders, the drawback for a lot of them is shooting. And it's the same thing. Like, this is why I think you saw Portland kind of pivot with Donovan Clingan and Deni Avdija. And we even had you on to talk about Deni, so we got to get to that at some point.
Yes, we do.
But both those guys are physical. Like, they're incredibly physical. And as much as Portland has been getting bigger, stronger, longer, more athletic, one of the things they kind of lost was some physicality. So you got a Serbian-Israeli dude. I don't think you could put two more Henri people together. I love him.
Is that where Moraine comes from?
Yes.
The Henri Not Evil?
Yes, exactly.
Is that a Serbian-Israeli?
Yes, I just that is an Henri group. If I have ever, if you could take two cultures on this planet and be like, what's the Henriest like duo you could put together? Serbian and Israeli would be super high on that list. And I say that in the most flattering manner. It's not a detriment at all. And then you get Clingan, who's an absolute monster who wants to kill people all the time. So I think you're seeing a big pivot from the organization on Portland side of things, going down this path of like, okay, we want to be switchable and all those kind of things. But also the thing you give up by being switchable a lot of times is physicality.
Well, and look, Chauncey Billups, the style of play that suited him the best in his career was a very physical brand of basketball. And we were talking with Casey Holdall last Wednesday when we were at 10 Barrel, and it was I asked him how much do we feel like the way that officiating is changing is going to maybe skew the way that some of the teams are built, and the allowance of more physical style of play, you've got to have it now. And I appreciate that. I like that. Are there any other teams that have either struck deals or whiff that you are looking at as saying, okay, this affects Portland positively or negatively in a trade market or in a player acquisition move? Because there's some teams that have a lot of cap space that are looking to seemingly unload more. Utah, which they're at $38.5 million in cap space, but they're looking to unload one of their biggest contracts.
Well, that's the thing is there has been a slight pivot in that Lowry marketing could be available. A dark horse I've heard there is the Golden State Warriors, basically giving up everything that they have that's not nailed down for Lowry. Now, is that enough? I don't think so. I've talked to folks in Utah that say that half the league is checked in on Lowry. Half the league. Like, he's an incredibly sought after player. He's 25 years old, movement, doesn't need the ball, 7 foot. Not a plus defender, but big enough and mobile enough to play multiple positions.
And on a smoking deal,
expiring
as well.
You're going to have to pay him. If you trade for him, you're trading for the right to pay him, and you're going to pay him $40+ million a year. But also, I think he's probably worth it. So he could be a guy that comes up on the market. The Lakers are getting hammered right now. They have come up with nothing, and Pelinka has walked away from the table so many times over the years. I think people in LA are getting tired of it. They have to be feeling real pressure right now. Does that change the impetus for the desire to move for a Jeremy Grant? I think it certainly puts pressure on them. I think if you're wondering what position they're in right now, I'm sure there's a barrel, and I'm sure he's over the top of it.
Yeah,
that's what it very much feels like with Pelinka right now,
because they were one of the first apron teams that can't use a trade exception as part of a deal, right? With under the new CBA, you can't use trade exceptions generated from the previous seasons that roll over.
But LeBron opted out, so right now
they may be safe.
Yeah, I think if the DeMar DeRozan has been rumored as I think Chris Haynes actually just said something about it. It'll either be into an exception kind of a deal, or as the MLE, or as part of a sign and trade with the Bulls.
Okay.
So Does that mean LeBron ends up taking a pay cut? That's dicey. I don't know if that's necessarily the case in that vein, particularly if it's just a 1-year deal. If you're LeBron, like, why the hell would I do that there? Before Josh Green got moved in the Klay Thompson deal to Charlotte, I had heard that the Dallas Mavericks were kicking around Matisse Thybulle. Obviously, they offered him the restricted free agency deal last year on July 6th that the Blazers turned around and matched. He's available to be traded as of July 6th.
I was going to say, yeah, when does that,
You
because it's the
agree
match
to it.
date,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So July 6th, and then
you could agree to it in principle, then wait until the 6th and then consummate the deal.
next Monday, when league offices open up again, they'd go, boom.
And that's when, for those that are wondering, that's when the deals for the second-round picks and Deni Avdija will be made official. Because of how they're structured and what they mean to certain teams, they need to float over into the next league year.
All right.
CBA, yay.
All right. Well, it's been busy, but also kind of dead as it pertains to the hometown team. And that's to be expected.
It's going to be,
right
I'm cautiously optimistic that there's going to be some movement.
We have a ton of more NBA stuff that we got to get to, and we will over the course of the show because, look, as you said, we haven't had the chance, you and I, to talk about Donovan Clingan, Deni Avdija. We have audio from the Donovan Clingan press conference. He was introduced over the weekend.
He was.
Seemed a little nervous. He seemed a little nervous.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Yeah. He seemed a little nervous, but I like the makeup of him a lot.
Yeah.
He's I think he's going to be a good one. Yeah, I think he's going to kind of fit the direction that they want to go to as well. But we'll discuss that coming up later. But today is a day we cannot ignore. It's quite the day.
It is. It's a very important day in sports history.
You ain't lying. Danny and Dusty on the Fan. very important day in our world of sports here. As we take a break from NBA free agency, happy Bobby Bonilla Day.
To all who celebrate.
Yeah, which is mainly Bobby Bonilla.
Definitely not the Mets.
But every July 1st from 2011 through 2035, the New York Mets will pay Bobby Bo $1,193,248.20 as part of a buyout deal. They still owe him $11.9 million.
It's always better to get the lump sum payout, but this is what it looks like if you win the lottery and you take the yearly.
Boy, isn't it?
This is exactly that. You always want the lump sum, you just deal with it, and then you have more money to work with. But with this, you know what you can never do? Go broke.
Yeah, you ain't gonna go broke.
Yeah, see, if I took that lump sum, I'd wind up like an NFL wide receiver and broke in 3 years.
All right. I'd like to see it play out, though.
I'd have a hell of a time doing it.
You would. You know, Bobby Bonilla isn't the only one that is celebrating today. Do you know other players? There are 3 other players that are getting paid deferred payments on July 1. Do you know who they are? In professional baseball alone. 3 of them.
Go on.
All 3 of them, very well-known names. Today is the last day that Ken Griffey Jr. gets $3.59 million from the Cincinnati Reds to go away.
Okay.
Manny Ramirez is getting $1.96 million from the Boston Red Sox.
Still?
Yeah. And then the Washington Nationals are paying that double dip in SOB today.
That's a good one.
It's a great day. All 4 of those guys, congratulations.
That's got to be a nice little deposit to pop up in the old checking account, huh?
Congratulations. And my favorite part of Bobby Bo Day is the fact that Bernie Madoff is the guy responsible for it.
Yeah, there you go. You got a pyramid scheme
Still
for somebody.
screwing people over.
Like, of all of the people to be, like, it's like, oh, if you're like, just think of like the worst person that could be connected to the Mets. You'd be like, oh, Jeffrey Epstein? No, close.
No.
Bernie Madoff,
Earl Strawberry?
who just absolutely defrauded thousands of people. But
took all of their inheritance. But hey, Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bo's like the one guy who's like, not that bad.
You suppose Bonilla sends him a card every year on this date?
No, he's dead.
He's dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember that?
No.
Yeah.
Well,
Ooh.
rotten hell.
There you go.
Not a great dude.
Huh, babe.
Not a great dude.
Do you know what yesterday was?
No.
It's another important
June
day.
30th.
It was another important day for the Portland Trailblazers.
What?
They are now free of Andrew Nicholson's dead money.
You're kidding.
It's done.
That was an all-time stretch, too.
Goodness gracious. 7 years later.
Boy, I forgot about him.
The only dead money they have left now is Eric Bledsoe and Didi Louzada, which combined is still less than Andrew Nicholson's.
Yeah. Anderson Varejão's was a big one for a lot of years, too.
That one was,
that was like 2 years ago.
4 or 5 years
Or
ago,
that was,
I think.
Was it really?
Yeah.
God, the Blazers were paying a lot of guys not to play basketball here for a run.
Like ever.
Yeah.
Like ever.
Like ever for them.
That was
Festus Ezeli.
That was for
just 1 year.
To get off the Allen Crabbe deal. That's what the Andrew
Yeah.
Nicholson money was for. Gross as that is.
But you know what?
Probably still worth it.
Yeah, you're gonna take that one because like it was matching Brooklyn's offer, them being like, yeah, and okay, you can have him back.
Let him go.
Probably
let him
worked out for the
go.
best.
Yeah.
Probably worked out for the best. Does anybody know? Has anybody heard from Bobby Bonilla though? Is my thing. Like all we hear about is like celebrating Bobby Bonilla Day. What's Bobby Bo up to?
I hope it's like
Living on a beach?
I would say living on an island
Yeah, just
or
knowing
having your own island.
knowing that you get $11.9 million more coming your way because the New York Mets were that bad at business.
Just get all fat and sassy.
I would.
Mm.
I'd get all fat and sassy too. What do you think
Isn't
do?
that-
Be like,
Isn't that what one does when you have millions of dollars guaranteed for 20 years?
just
When you got 1.2 million coming in every year for nothing.
we missed it, guys. We should have been in
I should have been a baseball player.
professional sports. You know?
Baseball's
Oh,
got
man.
that good money, man. It's crazy and it's guaranteed.
Yeah. Golly, Bobby Bo.
At some point in time,
God bless you.
we talked about the apron a little bit. We'll have to talk about today the implications of the apron serving as essentially a hard cap now in basketball.
What?
Basketball apron, it's basically serving as a hard cap.
Where did that come from?
I said, again, talking about money and how we've talked about the different transactions that have taken place. That's where I was coming back to. We're talking about the transactions and how in baseball having guaranteed money.
Yeah, guaranteed money's great.
Yeah.
Guaranteed is awesome. This is a great text. Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. I hope he puts the check on the Mets finishing in last place.
Wow.
He could be even more rich. Like, what if that's what Bobby Bonilla does?
That's a real pyramid scheme right now. Taking the money the Mets owe you and then putting on the Mets to be the worst.
I mean, it's not working out for him right now. But look, there's a lot of baseball left. There's 10 games out of last place in the NL East. I don't think they're catching the Miami Marlins, though. Miami Marlins are absolutely atrocious, unless I bet on them to lose. And then they get really good for one night, apparently. But other than that, they've been god-awful. I think they're 30-54 right now. I think like at least 20 of them are when I got juice on them to lose a baseball game.
Yeah, you got to start going with the Costanza theory.
Yeah.
Just do the opposite of what you think.
I kid. But they are really bad.
They are.
They are just atrocious.
Poor Suk.
Oh no, I was talking the Marlins. The
Mets.
The Mets are hovering right around 500, but everybody's arm's going to fall off again, and but the Phillies and the Braves are just going to run away with that division.
Yeah, we're almost at that point where it's full on baseball time.
Yeah.
They're
already talking home run derby.
I would say they're changing the rules
again.
Yeah, I didn't even look at them because I was like, oh God, what now?
Oh, I did. So you know how guys were just, because they were on a timer, they were just hacking away, just swinging as many times as they could. They were saying that players were averaging 43 swings per round.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and guys were like starting to say, I think somebody's going to get hurt doing this.
Yeah.
So what they're doing now is they're going to limit. It's more about the contact you make as opposed to the amount of swings that you take.
What, we measure an exit velocity now?
No. They're just, so you know how you got bonus time at the end?
Mm-hmm.
The bonus time is 3 outs now. It's not an extra minute on your 3 minutes.
Gotcha.
Because what guys were doing is they were just getting as many hacks in at the end. And what the 3 outs will allow you to do is it doesn't matter how many homers you're down. If you get to the bonus time, which is by hitting a 425-foot home run, you get to that bonus time. And then once you get there, you could hit 50 home runs in that span. But you get 3 outs to do it, and you take your time.
Can we just go back to the old way of just doing the 10 outs?
Well, you would think.
I mean, do we really have to overthink this that much?
No, you don't. Because...
Well, they don't want the Josh Hamilton to happen either.
Yeah.
Where they hit like 37 home runs in the first round, and then they're gassed the rest of the show. It's but that's the whole thing. Is like, guess what I remember? I remember Josh Hamilton absolutely raking for a round.
But that's when you have the pitcher go, okay, man, we're at 25. I think you're good.
Yeah.
Right?
And then if he doesn't do it, you beat him.
Hit him with the 40-mile-an-hour.
Yeah, you
ball.
I'm sending a message, Josh.
Yeah. Right on the hand.
Yeah. Just knock it off. You start throwing pitches he can't hit out. Like you get that heat map, and then you go only to the cold zones, and you're just like, that is where I'm pitching you. I'm done with this. That, I think, in a little bit of awareness by the person hitting, that might be the way to go about it. So, happy Bobby Bo Day to everybody that celebrates. It's one of the greatest grifts in sports, and I'm really happy for him. I can't wait till 2035 when they do an interview with him. And somebody needs to sit down and go through with Bobby Bonilla where he put that, like all of this money over 20 years.
It'll just be like that meme with the big fella laying back on the bed of cash.
I hope it is. If he's just like, yeah, I blew it all.
Yeah.
Like, it was free money for 20 years.
Cocaine costs a lot. How do you think I got so skinny?
Like, all right. Well, good for you, man.
Especially in New York.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where he lives now.
No, I'm saying the cocaine in New York. It's probably pretty expensive.
Oh. Probably.
I mean, just geographically, it's a difficult distribution center.
Dude, everything in New York was expensive. When I
Yeah,
was there.
see?
Like literally,
You get the New York
everything.
markup. Taxes are
Golly.
crazy.
Yeah,
Packaging it from all the way from Florida all the way up.
$12 for a beer.
It's like Bobby Bo's living
you
in
do-
Florida.
Good for him.
Well,
So he's not paying New York income tax. He's paying He's paying no Florida income tax.
also cocaine a lot cheaper in Florida, wholesale.
Okay. All right.
No,
Little Tony Montana yayo.
I'm just saying.
I'm looking up what he's doing now.
Oh, I thought you were saying you're gonna look up the price of cocaine.
No, he got divorced in 2009.
Do you think they have that online?
What?
The price of cocaine?
I don't know.
Maybe on the dark web, but you're familiar with that, Danny.
I don't know what happened to you this segment.
There's a chart here. The street price of a gram of cocaine.
Okay.
They have like actual tracking.
All
It's
right.
incredible across nations even.
Oh,
Bolivia, cheapest place you can get it.
okay.
So UAE, very expensive, $286 a gram.
Oh, wow.
I
look
would
at
have seen that coming.
Mm.
Saudi Arabia number 2, Australia number 3.
Yeah, in the UAE, they're cutting it with gold flakes.
Yeah, you're
That's
not
their
wrong.
Goldschlager.
Well, and you'll get murdered.
Here's an upset. Third least expensive,
Yeah.
Portugal.
Is that an upset?
I mean, you think about it. Cocaine, South America, Europe. That's a long travel. Like,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So, I mean, look, if you're gonna sit inside that little tiny submarine, that's a
Maybe-
long trip.
Maybe easy ports to get it in and out of there.
Nah.
Yeah. I'm looking at Bobby Bo. So these payments started in 2009 or 2011. Do you think he intentionally got divorced in 2009? Or do
Knowing
you think
what was
that,
coming.
Yeah, do you think that she's getting the hefty chunk? Is Bobby Bo only getting $500,000 of his $1 million payments?
Nah, because he gets divorced early, and that way the alimony is set.
I'm sure he had to have some
See?
sort of a prenup there, too.
But I bet she
If
was
he's a
like,
smart man.
she's like, I know what's coming in 2 years. He's like, what? I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I don't know what you're talking about.
That's
All right.
for Bobby J. Bonia. I'm Bobby L. Bonia.
Yeah. He also, he donates a lot of money to schools, apparently. Bobby Bo.
Yeah.
Good guy?
Good guy.
That was a question. I don't know.
Oh, I gotta show you a terrible thing before we get to the worst day on the web. This could have been a
Oh.
worst day on the web.
Okay.
There was a political slush fund that was being run through a bodega in Oakland worth millions of dollars. So if you're talking about like giving money back to
Oh,
things, yeah, I'll show you that story in the break. It's
cool. So politics seem to be on the up and up still.
that's why Bobby Bo moved to Florida. That's easier to run your money through a pack there.
Sure.
Coming up on our worst day on the web, more transactions. You wouldn't believe how many times a potential record-setting quarterback has made a transaction through the NFL. But first, here's a Big Kahuna with a Sports Center update.
Hamburgers, the cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on the Fan, NBA free agency period began yesterday with a handful of moves. The biggest, though, very early this morning. Forward Paul George reportedly agreeing to a 4-year, $212 million max deal with the 76ers, the final year being a player option. Those 76ers were busy, also agreeing to a 5-year, $205 million max deal with guard Tyrese Maxey and a 2-year, $16.3 million deal with guard Kelly Oubre Jr. The Mavericks agreeing with shooting guard Klay Thompson on a 3-year, $50 million contract as part of a multi-team sign and trade that sends shooting guard Josh Green to Charlotte, but the Warriors are still negotiating their return. Celtics guard Derek White agreeing to a 4-year, $125.9 million extension with a player option. Forward Derek Jones Jr. to the Clippers for 3 years and $30 million. Former Blazer and the Shaq of Troutdale, center Drew Eubanks to the Jazz, 2 years, $10 million. Warriors and shooting guard DeAnthony Melton, that's 1 year, $12.8 million. Milwaukee and guard DeLon Wright for 1 year and $3.3 million. The Blazers bringing back forward Justin Minaya on a 2-way contract. Over in baseball, the Mariners off today before bringing in the Orioles for a 3-game set. Seattle has dropped 8 of their last 11 in each of their last 4 series. The lead over the Astros in the AL West down to just 3.5 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan Merch Locker has new shirts from the fan shows and hosts you love. Get yours now at 1080thefan.com. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Look, if you're going to be a professional athlete, it's good to have something you can hang your hat on. You don't want to be somebody that just comes and goes. You want to be the answer to a trivia question.
Yeah, all right.
Don't you?
Yes, you do.
Like, if you're not going to play, if you're not going to be some like all-time great, wouldn't you rather be the answer to a trivia question that isn't you stole money like Jamarcus Russell?
Oh, yeah, dude, that was something that happened over this weekend. $74,000 that Jamarcus Russell got
Stole from a high school?
for a high school as a donation.
Yeah.
Pocketed it. Uh-oh.
And the insane thing is, that isn't the most money he's stolen. Not by a large amount. He stole $60 million from the Raiders.
No, they willingly gave that to him.
Yeah, he stole it.
They willingly gave that to him.
Stole it.
No, you're talking like you want to be like the real life Archibald Graham, Moonlight Graham. Remember him from Field of Dreams?
Mm.
He was an actual baseball player, and in 1905 for the New York Giants, he played in one game, but he only played in a half of an inning where he played out in the outfield. And he got no balls hit to him.
Mm-hmm.
He never touched a baseball. And he never got an at-bat because he only played half of the inning defensively. That was his only appearance in Major League Baseball.
It's incredible.
That might be like doing the absolute least and still being like professional athlete.
Been there, done that.
And the real Moonlight Graham, it wasn't because he crossed the rocks when the girl was choking on a hot dog and fell off the bleachers. No, it was just, that was his chance. Never played again. That's crazy.
Like, that's what also when you understand how many people have played baseball professionally.
Yeah.
Like, the odds are bound that somebody has something like that. And we have that really on the NFL side as well.
Yeah, I mean, but that is like, that's just
the
wild.
absolute
Like, at
least.
least let me strike out.
Or catch a pop fly or, touch a ball. Just something.
Yeah. We may have the NFL equivalent, though.
You do. I think so. Tyler Bray, he is up for the most transactions in NFL history.
Go Vols, former Tennessee quarterback.
He's currently one away of T.Y. McGill's 114 transactions.
T.Y. McGill?
Mm-hmm.
They did make a note in that article that the very first listed transaction for T.Y. McGill was a different player, so he is actually at 113.
Oh, so they're both at 113, so
yes.
they are tied.
Right.
So the next transaction allows Tyler Bray to be the most transacted player of all time. And if you're wondering, what's a transaction? It's not just a trade. It's not just signing. It's not being released. It's being activated. It's being reactivated or deactivated. It's been put on the practice squad. There are certain things in the NFL that require a league-sanctioned transaction to take place.
Okay, so now, Tyler Bray has not had an accomplished career in the NFL. I don't even know. I cannot even tell you. I know that he played for the Bears, and that's about it.
Yes.
Like I think he may have even started a game for the
He
Bears.
has stats with two teams.
Okay.
The Bears are team number 2,
Okay.
and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Or the other one.
Yes.
Okay. So that would be mop-up duty in Kansas City, and then probably starting role in Chicago.
And his stats with the Kansas City Chiefs go as follows.
Okay.
0 pass completions.
Oh.
1 rushing attempt. 0 rush yards. 1 rushing fumble. 1 rushing fumble lost. 1 rushing fumble lost and returned for a defensive touchdown.
And passing for his career, he is 1 for 6 for 18 yards.
In the career.
Yeah.
Look.
High average, though.
This dude, this is why being a backup quarterback is the best job in all of sports. And move over bullpen catcher, because backup quarterback,
Blaine Gabbert.
you're still making more. Bullpen catchers aren't actually on the roster.
No. They're
No,
just
you just, like,
paid
get-
a salary. That you're literally like a volunteer that gets paid to just chill in the
Well,
bullpen.
you're a pack mule.
Yeah.
Who you got to carry a lot of stuff around. You warm up pitchers. Great gig, don't get me wrong. but you're still getting paid practice squad and active roster money for Tyler Bray, getting bumped up and down as much as he was. You're still making a pretty penny there.
$200,000.
And there is zero pressure.
You're not getting hit.
Being the backup quarterback. And people at some point will be like, hey, let's see what this kid has to offer, when things are getting sideways. And the bar is very low. 1 for 8 for 18 yards. And your lone rushing attempt was a fumble return for a touchdown by the other team?
That's 1 for 6.
That's not that bad.
Yeah. He has appeared in 2 games total his entire career. 1 in 2017 for the Chiefs and 1 in 2020 for the Chicago Bears with a career of 9 snaps.
Dang. 9 snaps and 113
and that means
transactions.
So that means that one game that he played in Chicago, he was in there for 5 snaps, and they attempted to pass on each one of those 5 snaps.
I'll tell you what. Tyler Bray, in my opinion, some people may say not a successful career. I think
it's incredibly
this
successful.
is a wildly successful career. The guy has been in the NFL since 2017. And it's 2024.
Yeah, he's played 9 snaps.
This dude has gotten actually not like the bag. He's not like Tobias Harris getting paid $26 million a year. But what he's getting is he's getting a comfortable living that Tyler Bray's making here, just bouncing around the NFL, probably smart as hell, which is why people want to keep him around, and a guy who's a good locker room guy. So he's cool to hang out with. I'm all in on Tyler Bray. I want more of Tyler Bray's career, actually, because this dude, it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot. And in Kansas City, did he get a Super Bowl in Kansas City?
That was 2017? The 2017 season?
No.
I don't think so.
No. So he doesn't have a ring yet. But maybe he was
Do you
one
not
of his
get one on the practice squad?
Well, you would, but maybe he was bouncing around and wasn't on the active roster, but he still probably got a Super Bowl ring out of being in Kansas City. Good for Tyler Bray. I think this is a worse day because Tyler Bray just woke up this morning and looked and was like, whoa, catching strays. I think it's a great day because you're still around. People are still talking about you, my dude.
Somebody did a great visual of all of like the transaction logs of NFL players with at least 10 career transactions. And it's a bar graph that just kind of goes down and slides down. And then there's like this giant gap at 75. And then there's like 10 total players ever. And then there's like this little blip at 113. It's like, that's me. That's Tyler Bray.
Just down here.
Yeah, then you show off to people. You want to see what I did?
Yeah.
This is me right here. This little blip.
God bless it.
That little guy right there. Don't worry about that little guy.
So he is nowhere to be found right now. Does he have a team?
It looks like he hasn't been on a team since 2020.
Yeah,
2021. 2021. It would be the San Francisco 49ers. I think somebody needs to just sign him, cut him.
Career earnings of $4.9 million.
Dude, it's great to be Tyler Bray.
Yeah. So $4.9 million divided by 6 snaps.
Dude, move over Chase Daniels. There's a new guy.
No. Nobody surpasses Chase Daniels' greatness.
I don't know if it's 9 total snaps, 6 pass attempts, so 9 total snaps. I think he may pass.
No, Chase has been very upfront.
Okay,
about
let's guess
how
the
much
career
money
earnings
he's
of
got.
Chase Daniel.
Oh, it's insane.
Chase Daniel is at like,
I want to say like 25, 30.
Yeah, I was gonna say 23 million. No, higher or lower?
Higher.
40.
41.8 million.
Dude,
Yeah, that's insane.
How many snaps is he?
Chase is
14-year career with 7 different teams.
Chase is a god of getting the bag.
God, that's so good for him.
Tobias Harris is jealous.
Yeah, Tobias Harris is jealous of that. And he's played in 74 he played in 74 games though.
Yeah,
you
but also like he was doing it right.
Yeah, he was. See, backup quarterback.
It's
a great place to be.
He said something about being at Missouri. I think somebody tweeted a picture of they were about to have their Chase Daniel summer, and it was him at Missouri being kind of round faced, and he's like, "Oh, you mean go out and damn near win a Heisman while housing a whole pizza and a case of beer every night? Yeah, good luck on that, bud."
And that's awesome.
Yeah. So basically, somebody tried to dunk on him. He was like, "Yeah, you go ahead and tell me you can do all these things while also living your best life. You can't.
You can't do that.
You can't.
There's no way. There's no way that you could possibly beat that.
contrary to popular belief, this is the peak male athlete right here.
You're damn right it is. All right.
So-
I'm looking at Chase Daniel. He attempted in his career, oh boy,
273.
273 passes. He attempted 273.
Obviously, the dollar per pass ratio is going to go side with Bray, but
I think, yeah, see?
but the scaling of Daniel, though,
68.1% completion percentage.
Not too bad.
oh, he's a solid backup quarterback.
9 touchdowns, 7 picks.
And your quarterback.
Huh.
Like, chicks dig quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like, if Chase Daniel,
And he was
I bet
never a
he's married
threat
to a
of
smoking
being.
hot, like, supermodel.
Oh yeah, and he's never a threat to be the actual starter.
And it looks like about 570 more career snaps than Tyler Bray.
570?
579 total.
It's good to be both those guys. Again, we should have been professional athletes, guys.
Yeah. Boy, did I miss my calling.
You sure did.
Why didn't I listen?
I think you would have been a great quarterback.
Yes.
Rust.
Third string.
Yeah. Coach would have put me in. We went to state.
Yeah. Bet you I can
Going
throw
to
his ball
state.
over the mountains over there.
It's a good place to be. All right, coming up next, you were gone when the Portland Trailblazers made the surprise transactional trade. You were golfing for Deni Avdija. We'll talk about that and more coming up here next year on Danny and Dusty, 10 the Fan. Last week, the Portland Trailblazers were busy. I've seen some people say, "Oh, the Blazers are having a quiet offseason." I don't know, man. Trading for Deni Avdija when nobody saw that coming, and drafting Donovan Clingan, somebody most people had as like either the best or second best player on the draft. I'd say that's pretty active. What's been your general takeaway of that transaction period for the Blazers?
Yeah, it was like right when we got off the air, right? There was starting to be a little bit of rumblings about the Portland Trailblazers in the first round got going, and it was the Deni Avdija trade came through for the 14th pick and then a future first. There was a lot of negative reaction from fans. And it's always interesting to see the fan reaction as opposed to the reaction of people that either cover the NBA or cover a team specifically. And the fan reaction was, oh my God, who the hell is this? Why are you giving up 2 first-round picks for it? And there was a lot of correlation being made to, so this is the Dame trade at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw a lot of that. I look at Deni Avdija, and you look at the reaction from the Washington Wizards fans. You look at the members of the media that covered Washington. They're like, "Oh God, like that was one of our bright spots."
Yeah.
You're looking at a guy who has length, who can bounce between the 3 and the 4, who had his best career shooting from 3. He is a physical defender, and you talked about this earlier. The physicality of him, that was the thing that I was unfamiliar with. And then you just started looking at the rave reviews from people who covered the NBA and have covered the Washington Wizards and are sitting there going, no, he is actually coming into form. He's on a de-escalating contract, which is almost unheard of in the NBA for a young player with a tremendous upside.
It's the same kind of deal that Wendell Carter had. He'll obviously get a different deal going forward.
And everybody's like, well, you should have gotten Dalton Connect for him. He's younger than Dalton Connect. Like, they're technically the same age, but it's like he's a couple months younger.
He's a couple months older.
Or older? Older?
Somebody had that earlier, and I transposed the 2 dates. But yeah, they're 3 months apart.
Okay. And this is a guy who's played in the NBA.
And been productive already. You don't have questions
and
about.
is coming off of his best year where it was the year he played the most in the NBA. It was the first time that he got a bulk of starter minutes. He averaged, 30 minutes a game and shot 37.8% from 3.
Yeah, he was 14, 7, and 3 on 50, 37, 74 splits.
That, to me, is like, this is exactly what Portland should be doing. And they're like, but you gave up one of the picks you got in the Dame trade. There's 3 of them in that first round. Okay? And it's not your top pick. Yeah. It's the middle of your 3 picks. I think that, and of course, hindsight, people are going to go back, and if it doesn't work out and the Blazers, they'll tear it apart.
But Paul George trade,
but right now, you got an upgrade over anything that you were going to get at 14.
And you got to upgrade over anything you were going to get at 7. Like, I wanted them to take Cody Williams. Like, we talked about that going into that draft. I'm like, take the swing on the wing. That's what I wanted. And they instead, they went and got a wing that they aren't necessarily taking a swing on. There's more upside, I think, with Deni. I've talked to the Blazers front office, and I've talked to other front offices about Deni, and damn near universally, like, yeah, we all think there's more to go. The question is the shooting for real? Because what happened last year, the reason his 3-point percentage went up is because he shot the living hell out of the ball from the corners.
Yeah.
Shot 48% from the corners. There's going to be a drop back there. But I think that there's going to be probably some uptick in the above the break 3-point percentage. The big thing for me is they got bigger, stronger, longer. They got a little nastier, but they got the thing that you and I have talked about ad nauseum. The rarest commodity in the entire NBA is playmaking with size. Deni Avdija is playmaking with size. And it was like, it's only 3.5 assists. I'm like, watch the guy play. He can actually attack the rim, bring rim pressure, create off the bounce on a live dribble, and find a pass. That is a real skill.
And when you're looking for guys, that was the biggest component that the Blazers, and this isn't to say like the results won't be immediate this year either, right? Because we know the direction of Portland right now. But how many times do we see Scoot come downhill last year, try to kick the ball out, and nothing was done with it, right? We saw that a lot last year. You're getting a guy that you can kick the ball out to, and he can be a playmaker, whether it's corner threes, and hopefully that shooting translates, or a guy that can take it off the dribble and create a little bit more space for everybody else. I'm okay. I was totally fine with it. And I also will go back to, you want a front office that'll put them on the table and they have faith in their process, right? Mike Schmitz, when Deni Avdija was drafted, he tweeted out, as he was an employee for ESPN at the time, steal of the draft at 9.
And he went further in depth. He said at some point in time he thought that he had the potential to be the best player in that draft. And that is a draft that featured Anthony Edwards and Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Maxey.
Now, that has not come to fruition.
No.
But
it shows you how highly they think of him as a prospect. And he's still a prospect because he's 23.
I am okay with this team making risks, with putting him on the table and in gunning for something down the road, because that was something that was sorely missed during the prime of Damian Lillard. And there was a reluctance to go down that road. And is there risk involved? Absolutely there is. Absolutely there is. But I will go back to look at what we saw last year, right? Wins and loss wise. Are we going, they're trying to take a swing to improve this team in 2025, right? That's what the main goal is. Use this year to develop some of your younger pieces, get familiarity with guys like Avdija and Klingon who are coming in.
Bottom out and hope you get one of those top 3 guys.
And then you can move forward with a young core that you have for multiple years too, which is, I don't see that as a bad thing. But there's a lot of people with really adverse reactions to it. I was okay with, I'm not like over the moon with it. I'm not like, yeah, this is going to be the piece, because there's so many pieces away.
No.
But in a draft where I think everybody, when we predicted this months ago, in a draft that was considered one of the weakest in recent memory, okay, the Blazers had 2 first-round picks, and all of a sudden there's a facet of the fan base that wanted to be like, no, we could have gotten something better at 14. No, you actually have a known. And the known is that there's people in Washington that are going, man, that this one kind of hurts, because we started to see an uptick in his production that we were all hoping for. And now he's gone. But Washington is in a place where they're down to the studs too. And they wanted more draft capital. And they got it. I'm all right with all of it.
I like where they ended up with this. So
you called it A+ right when it happened. And look,
I made my feelings known.
Yeah.
Avdija is a guy that I really like and have liked, and I did not think he would be available at that price.
Yeah.
What I have heard back is that people were surprised that, number one, he was available. Then that as much as people like, oh, is it overpay? Most people said that they thought it would cost more than that to get him.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. And I'm glad that as more information is coming out, it seems like the fan base is calming down a little bit about the trade. And I think Portland fans are going to love him when he comes and he starts playing basketball here, because that's what Blazer fans do, right? You irrationally fall in love with a guy, and this will be another case of that. It's going to be fun.
Come on. He hasn't even put on a jersey yet, and he's already a Portland legend.
That's right. That's how we'll do.
All right, coming up next, we will reset with NBA free agency in day number 2. The will they, won't they, the ramifications of moves, and how the trickle-down effect can help or aid Portland as they move into the next step of their rebuild here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Here on a Monday afternoon of Free Agency Monday, here on Danny and Dusty. Thank you for joining us, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. And a reminder, you can join us next Thursday. We are a little more than a week away from Autotown GMC presenting the 10th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Course. You can come down and join us Thursday, July 11th. All the afternoon rounds are sold out. There are only a couple morning rounds left.
Look, it's coming down to nitty gritty, and they've been going off slowly but surely, plucking away. You have got, we're 10 days away.
Yeah.
10 days away. And it's going to be a great time out on the course. We're going to be going around all over all day long. It's going to, I did not get my golf game tuned in and dialed in after 108 holes.
No? Did it get better or worse? Yes?
It got, it was.
Did we hit some shots?
Yeah,
Were
hit
shots
a
to
lot
be
of
had?
shots.
Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, won some money.
Okay.
Won some money.
Okay.
Yeah, won some money, but it was an up and down. It was an up and down trip.
But you
to
didn't get
Central
up and
Oregon.
down.
I did a few times.
Oh, there you go.
Nailing some putts.
Okay.
And so we'll be going around, but whether it's the Michelob Ultra driving range, whether it is the Dewar's par 3 6th hole, whether it is Matt's Barbecue, Victor Rico's coming through with the breakfast burritos for the morning crowd as well. It is going to be fun to be had by all out at Langdon Farms, so get your foursomes in now. Do it.
Love to see it.
Do it.
1080thefan.com. Whoop, whoop. There you go. Figure it out. Come on. Come hang out with us. All right. Quick little tag here on the free agency. Paul George, not a Clipper anymore.
Not a Clipper.
That's obviously the biggest move in free agency. What's the second biggest move for you? Is it Clay?
I think it's Isaiah Hartenstein going to Oklahoma City. I really do. I'm going to be really interested to see how this works on the floor, because all of Chet Holmgren's minutes this past year were at the 5.
Mm-hmm.
He will play side by side, and it won't be, for 35 minutes a night or whatever, but whatever those minutes look like with Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren on the floor together, the spacing is going to be really difficult for teams, because if they want to pull Chet out and allow him to shoot a little bit more, sign me up. I think Oklahoma City is going to be really damn exciting. And the fact that they have all of the draft capital and they have such a young core, the moves that they're going to be able to make, whether it's mid-season at the trade deadline, at the beginning of next offseason, the Thunder, it's not just like an open window. It is like they have like a garage door open right now.
I had somebody text me, God, I hate the Thunder. They're going to be like this for another decade.
And it's dicey. And look, this is with saying, like, Philly just got what I believe to be the best trio in the NBA right now with Embiid, George, Maxey.
It's very good.
I mean, like, what do you look at and you say that's a better three?
You have a top
right
3
now.
player in the NBA. You've got probably 2 top 25.
It's dynamic in Philly, but health. That's going to be the big. That's going to be the big.
Particularly
one.
Joel, less so with PG, because they just haven't ever gotten there healthy with Joel.
And this is like, I think that is far and away number 1. I think Isaiah's number 2, and then like, I don't know how much Clay has left in the tank in Dallas. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen there. He's obviously one of the best thing about Klay Thompson was his, not just his 3-point shooting, but his ability to affect the game on the defensive end of the floor, and he cannot do that anymore.
But in Dallas, they've surrounded him with defenders. You've got Quentin Grimes, you've got Najee Marshall, you've got Dante Exum, PJ Washington, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford. Like, there are legitimate guys around him. What's interesting to me is, if it were me, I would bring Clay off the bench. And I would always have one of Kyrie and Clay on the floor at any given time. So let Kyrie run the offense with, let Kyrie run with Luka to start.
Yeah.
And then when Luka goes to the bench, Clay's out there. Kyrie's handling the ball. Clay working off that. When Kyrie comes out and Luka comes back on the floor, let Clay play off that a little bit. Just let him be a leverage and gravity guy so that you could always have 1+ defender. And then during the regular season, you try it out and see how he does in closing lineups.
I would also add to this as well. If, in fact, LeBron James does take the quote-unquote pay cut to the Lakers, they are able to get DeMar DeRozan. I mean, DeMar DeRozan would not be the free agent move. It's obviously a trade, but the free agent move would be getting LeBron James on a discount. That would vault up, to number 2 for me. But we haven't seen that yet, so here we are, a couple days into it. That to me, number 2 is Hartenstein, then Clay. But that could change if Rob Pelinka is able to pull off bringing DeMar DeRozan back to LA, where he's from.
The interesting one here, and we've talked about so many other bigger moves in essence, but Agent Wojnarowski has said on ESPN that Utah's Lauri Markkanen has become a prime target for teams who missed out on Mikal Bridges.
Ooh.
And I know that the Golden State Warriors are among teams that have made a grand gesture of offers, including basically the entirety of their picks post Steph Curry, which are looking pretty tasty right now because it turns out they weren't smarter than everybody else. They fell face first into it, which is what I have said over and over and over again.
No, I think you forget they're light years.
The light years ahead. No. They knew. That's why they gave Steph Curry that very small deal when his ankles were made of plastic.
I love right now. This is my favorite, Danny, is that you get into this mode right now.
The Schadenfreude?
Oh my, you get into the mode of, let me just avalanche down on the things that you hate, and it gets me going. And probably your number one trigger is the Golden State Warriors and the fact that they just say the whole light years thing.
It drives me insane. Like they're smarter than everybody else. No, you got luckier than everyone else. That's what happened.
That's what all great franchises do as well.
It's like, no. You know what I love? Look, you know what I love about Oklahoma City? They don't sit here and pretend like they're smarter than everybody else.
No, they do the shucks. Okay, well, I mean, we'll take your first round picks then.
But I mean, like the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, James Harden, like, yeah, they drafted all those guys. Great. But you had to have things happen that landed in front of you.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And ever since then, they've made mistakes, but they've adjusted along the ways.
Yes.
They don't sit here and go, we're the smartest, front office of the entire league because we got Shea because our star player wanted to leave because Damian Lillard sent our franchise packing in embarrassing fashion on national TV. No, because they're not that dumb to go ahead and put that out there. You know what I mean? It's like, no, see, we're so smart. We knew Damian Lillard was going to put us in a coffin and point and laugh and then wave goodbye as our franchise exploded in front of our fans' faces on national TV.
And he gets tackled at center court.
Yeah, that's how we drew it up, folks, because we're light years ahead. That's the thing that just going full Peter Griffin grinds my gears. Like, stop.
Yeah.
And
you know what?
Bob Myers was light years ahead and seeing the careening crash that was coming and getting the hell out.
I on that point of Oklahoma City, I'll go with San Antonio as well. Like, they knew how lucky they got with landing Victor Wembanyama with the number 1 overall pick. And they're not sitting there and being like, you know what? We just have a real knack at tanking in years where we have the number 1 pick. It's like, no, you've won the lottery for David Robinson, Tim Duncan, and Victor Wembanyama.
One of them's a top 5 player of all time. The other was a top 30 player of all time. And the one you just drafted has the opportunity to be a top 1 player of all time.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. All right, coming up next, the Oregon Ducks are doing some terrifying things on the recruiting trail. We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
The after
Free agency bonanza in the NBA. It's also prime recruiting period. And the Oregon Ducks, Dan Lanning and the Oregon Ducks are putting quite a few ducks up on Twitter.
Yeah, they have been. And this weekend was huge for them. 4 big commits came in over the weekend, including Dorian Brew, corner, 4-star corner out of Texas. You got the also a commitment from the tight end out of Kansas, Deshaun Brame, over the weekend, and then 2 other 4-stars that popped in over this weekend. Josiah Sharma out of Folsom, defensive lineman, 6'5", 295. I can't believe some of these high school kids are built like absolute tanks right now. And then Jordan Davis out of Mater Dei, the running back. 4-star recruits coming in for Oregon, and it's bumped up whether you look at On3, where they have Oregon as the number 3 recruiting class in the country right now, or the 24/7 composite has them as the 5th best recruiting class in the country. What Dan Lanning has been able to do is ride this kind of wave of momentum and is capitalize on it left and right. And they are still behind, whether it's Ohio State, which continues to just crush it on the recruiting trail, though Oregon picked up a small victory over the weekend. Georgia, Alabama, those are going to be the powers, right?
Yep.
But the reality of what we've seen kind of Dan Lanning do over, his 3rd recruiting cycle is you're seeing that continual climb upwards.
But what has he done, Dusty?
What has he done? Boy, that one is an interesting one, because that seems to kind of be the backlash that we're seeing now from a lot of fans. And look, to his 2nd season, winning a Fiesta Bowl and 6 points away, those 2 losses to Washington were crippling, and their only 2 losses of the year were to a team that played for a national title last year and saw basically their entire offense get drafted into the NFL draft. Pretty damn good. But people get way too wrapped up in recruiting, because there is a hit and a whiff rate that goes back and forth, right? But when you start stacking recruiting classes like Oregon has, that momentum and that wave of good publicity on the recruiting trail, it does pay off. And look, they have maximized all of the assets that are in front of them. There's no secret, right? They used Nike, the uniforms, the branding to push forward. And now in the age of NIL, they are maximizing everything that they have in the NIL realm too. And that helps in recruiting. But I have said this time and time again, that to say that NIL is the end-all be-all in recruiting is just wrong. Because when you go head-to-head with programs, they all have NIL money at their disposal, right?
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And it does. It takes a shot at what this staff has been able to do from a relationship standpoint and a talent evaluation standpoint, to where they're starting to win these battles that they weren't winning before. NIL gets you in the door, and it can help you close. No doubt about it. But
it's the rails. It's not what you're built on.
Yes. And now if you're talking about like NIL in the factor that it plays between an Oregon and an Oregon State, hell yeah. It's a massive gap. But when you're talking about when you are going up against the top level recruits, NIL is not the end all be all that a lot of fans seem to think it is. I was reading an article today on Trojans Wire, the USC article or site, right? And they kind of laid it out that with what Oregon has been able to do on the recruiting trail, the other 3 West Coast teams in the Big Ten, so Washington, USC, and UCLA, have combined for 10 4- or 5-star recruits for their class of 2025. This weekend, Oregon picked up their 12th.
Yeah, and then the hit to that is USC lost 3 over the weekend as Georgia came in and said, we have NIL too.
And that's the thing, is that you holding on to guys also.
That's
this wave of like commits that come in, they could go away just as quickly as they came in. And so I think what you look at from a aspect of the fact that the recruiting has taken this massive leap forward that is great for Oregon. But what they've been able to do to backfill the roster in the portal, the fact that they have held on to a lot of their pieces in coming the departures through the transfer portal, everything has been trending in the right direction for Oregon. And if you are a Ducks fan, it is a great time to be a fan because of all of the optimism that is there. The roster this year is going to be really damn good. They will be. They have a very tough conference that they are playing in, and they will have a lot of games this year that are going to be tough ones. Ohio State is going to be a dogfight. You go to Ann Arbor, Michigan in November. You go to Madison, Wisconsin in November. Those are not going to be easy games by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not like there should be this Oregon's going to go 16-0 and they're going to win a national title this year. But you look at, because there's a lot of variables and a lot of factors, but the steady rise in the backfilling of your roster, that's where recruiting does matter. And this weekend was huge for Oregon, and this week is going to be another massive one. Right now, there's, the number 2 tight end in the country, Lincoln Cure out of Kansas. He is doing his commitment right now. Kind of seems by the recruiting experts that he's a Kansas State lean, but you look down, there are 7 guys that are going to be committing this week alone that Oregon is in the mix for that are those top-tier, high-level recruits. And if they can pull off 1 or 2 of those guys as commits, that's when you really start going, all right, this recruiting class is coming together, and we'll see kind of where they go moving forward. But the fact that you're looking at resources that are available, the staff has done an incredible job of capitalizing on those resources and going head to head with some of the top recruiting teams in the country, which, remember, it wasn't that long ago that, there were coaches on staff saying Oregon is a really tough place to recruit to, you're not going to win those battles. They're starting to do it now. NIL has helped, absolutely. But staff's relationships, that has been probably the biggest thing that Oregon has seen right now. As Lincoln Cure, the number 2 tight end in the country, just put on Kansas State hat, so he's going to play for the Wildcats. He's going to be staying at home in Kansas.
How timely that was.
Yeah, right there. Just put it on.
So, coming up next, there's a arms race in the Western Conference, how that can impact the Portland Trailblazers and the decisions they make going forward. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Center update.
That's that Hawaiian burger joint.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, NBA free agency began just about 23 and a half hours ago. A smattering of moves yesterday, but the biggest came in the middle of the night. Forward Paul George reportedly agreeing to a 4-year, $212 million max deal with the 76ers, the final year being a player option. Those 76ers stayed busy into this morning, also agreeing to a 5-year, $205 million max deal with guard Tyrese Maxey and a 2-year, $16.3 million deal with guard Kelly Oubre Jr. The Mavericks agreeing with shooting guard Klay Thompson on a 3-year, $50 million contract as part of a multi-team sign and trade that sends shooting guard Josh Green to the Hornets, but the Warriors are still negotiating their return. Celtics guard Derek White agreeing to a 4-year, $125.9 million extension with a player option. Forward Derek Jones Jr. to the Clippers for 3 years and $30 million. Former Blazer and the Shack of Troutdale center Drew Eubanks to the Jazz, 2 years, $10 million. Warriors and shooting guard DeAnthony Melton for 1 year and $12.8 million. Milwaukee and guard DeLon Wright for 1 year and $3.3 million. And the Blazers bringing back forward Justin Minaya on a 2-way contract. Over on the Diamond, the Mariners off today before welcoming the Orioles for a 3-game set. Seattle has dropped 8 of their last 11 and each of their last 4 series. The lead over the Astros in the American League West down to just 3.5 games. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Check out the new gear in the fan merch locker on 1080thefan.com. We have the new Dirt and Sprague bacon and football shirts, and of course the Danny and Dusty Absolute Unit shirts, which comes from
Absolute unit.
that part. All high quality tees cost just $25. You can still pick up your classic 1080 The Fan t-shirts or the Isaac and Suk shirts. I'm sure there's an Asachi line coming at some point in time.
Yeah.
More importantly, you can grab the limited edition Mike Lynch. Help Mike take a SWINJ.
Swinge. Take a swinge.
Against ALS. All of the profits from Mike from that T-shirt goes to Mike's GoFundMe account, who obviously Mike is battling ALS.
Absolutely.
So you can go to 1080thefan.com in the fan merch locker and get your shirts. Meow.
They're great quality shirts, and if you're an Absolute Unit,
There you go.
pick one up. Get the Absolute Unit shirt.
There you
Let's
go.
go.
I like it.
And there's going to be more to come.
There is.
Bum.
Speaking of absolute units, that's what the Dallas Mavericks are hoping to build right now as they make a move for Klay Thompson. They lose Derrick Jones Jr., but they also get Quentin Grimes and Najee Marshall through trading away Tim Hardaway to the Detroit Pistons, creating the space and bringing back Grimes, and then getting Najee Marshall from the Pelicans in free agency. They appear to be loading up and building quite a team. Nico has done a hell of a job down there with the Dallas Mavericks. Not too bad.
And
You wanna
Nico
look for it?
Harrison, who is going to be here, I know you've heard the ads running for the PDXYZ event on our station. Nico Harrison's going to be speaking at that event. He's obviously has deep ties here in the area. Used to work for Nike
For a long time.
for a very long time.
Running their basketball
and
division.
now is running the Dallas Mavericks, doing a phenomenal job at it. And Nico Harrison will be one of the presenters at PDXYZ. So that event's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yep.
And I can't wait. I can't wait to be there for that. And so if you want to get a chance to hear him speak,
Go check it out.
go check it out at PDXYZ.
So the Mavs are loading up. You take a look around at OKC. They're loading up. There are rumors out there that the Golden State Warriors, despite losing Klay Thompson and getting really nothing out of it, getting nothing out of Chris Paul other than getting off of Jordan Poole's deal, that they are trying to make a move for Lauri Markkanen, among other teams. The Sacramento Kings are also a team that have been linked to moving for Lauri Markkanen. One thing we haven't talked about on this show yet is Brandon Ingram. I've heard multiple iterations of the deal. It sounds like the Pels and Ingram are done. And Ingram to the Kings has been a thing that's been kicked around in the past, as well as Ingram to the Cavs. I've heard of a three-way team deal here where Ingram would end up at Sacramento and Harrison Barnes and picks would end up in Cleveland, while Jarrett Allen would end up in New Orleans. I don't think that's going to come to fruition because I think the Cavs would want a little bit more. They would hope for Keegan Murray and they would not get it. But if the Jazz were going to move for Lauri Markkanen, that would require Keegan Murray to be traded, is how I've heard it phrased. Danny Ainge is just sitting there circling, going, what do you got to give?
And he'll keep on doing that.
Yeah, and
because he knows he's got time to do it.
And so he'll chill there. The Lakers have missed out on everything.
I think the Kings are really interesting in all of this.
Be a sneaky team.
Because their core, it was a year ago we were talking about them being in a window, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're sitting there going, all right, what moves can they make to kind of get over the hump? And the Lakers, you mentioned the Lakers. Lakers are striking out everywhere. And the Bulls trying to unload DeMar DeRozan and Lonzo Ball, it may be the saving grace for the Lakers, because that seems to be like the last ditch effort right now is for the Lakers to try and get in on DeMar DeRozan and see what they can do, and hope that value gets suppressed a little bit by nobody else wanting DeMar DeRozan right now, or him controlling where he wants to go. And
that's the thing is DeMar is probably the most likely candidate, I think, right now to sign with the Lakers or to be moved to the Lakers. If you're the Portland Trailblazers, you're trying to leverage this situation into if you want to move off Jeremy Grant, going, hey, you guys have missed out on everything and you're pissing all of LeBron's goodwill just straight down the toilet. Do you sure you don't want Jeremy Grant?
We'll take 2029 and 2031.
Yeah, and the salary necessary to make it happen. Let's go. That's an opportunity there. I've talked to a few people that have some insight and they think that Pelinka probably won't relent and he'll just say screw it, which is kind of what his MO has been. Think about what he has or hasn't done with the Lakers. He's been pretty Neil O'Shea about it. There's been
self-preservation and nothing.
Not really pushing in. The most that they pushed in was making a bad move and getting Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
Because if you're the GM there, you tell them no. You don't give up KCP and Kyle Kuzma, guys that were useful in getting you a title, regardless if it's in the bubble. I don't care.
Everybody was in the bubble.
Yeah. And so those kind of things, you take a look at what they have or haven't done. It was like, well, what about Anthony Davis and how that's kind of shaken? I was like, Clutch manufactured all that. Let's be clear on how that all worked. So I think you're taking a look at where the Lakers are right now, and you're going, there's a 0% chance that they come out of this smelling okay. Which you hate to see it.
Hate to see it.
Look, I have friends that are Laker fans, and I was trying to tell them all weekend. They're like, I think there's a real chance for Clay. I think there's a real. And I'm like, there's not.
No,
there's not a real chance for Clay because the Lakers. I've been told that the Lakers originally cheaped out and they came back and went, well, we'll try to see if we can come up with the money. Anthony Irwin has reported that they were willing to offer $480, $20 million a year, but I think at that point they made a bad first impression.
Yeah, and that would have broke them too. I mean, that wouldn't have been a good deal. At that point, you're overpaying for 4 years, $80 million.
But the Lakers, if not for geography, would be irrelevant.
With their ownership in their front office,
yes.
Absolutely.
And the Rambuses, the Rambi,
well,
behind the scenes, pulling strings, alienation of Jerry West. Like, again, the only reason that they get the people that they've gotten is geography. And that's why.
Also, cold reality, like, that's what the Knicks were until they got their front office situated.
Yes.
And they built the Nova Knicks. I mean, like, they were the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Miami, look.
Without the best player in the world.
Miami is what they are. They're geography, but they also have substance.
Yes, they do.
I just don't like their fan base.
No, you do. You do not like if their fan base was Warriors, like that would be your most hated franchise of all time.
But the Heat one, that's earned.
Yeah.
It's earned. They've done it through multiple iterations, and everybody knows that their culture is real.
Yeah.
So I think you take a look at that stuff and you kind of wonder.
Chris Haynes. Jason Tatum and the Celtics have reached an agreement on a 5-year, $315 million max extension.
Yeah, that was expected to come here in a couple of days. I'm surprised they did that now, but all right, cool.
Again, where's this money coming from?
New ownership.
Oh, my, that doesn't exist yet.
It will. But they've spent, basically $1 billion in the past year?
Goodness gracious.
300 on Jason, just under 300 on Jalen, 125 on
on Derek White.
Yeah, 126 basically.
Yeah. And then what was it? About the same on Drew.
So here's the update. So you're at $315 million with Tatum. You're at 285 on Brown. If you add this year into Derek White, you're up to 146. Drew Holiday's at 134.4. Porzingis has still got 2 years, $60 million left.
So they're going to compete with the Knicks and have the rest of the team filled out with the actual Villanova guys.
Yeah,
that are
like
still in college.
Ryan Arcidiacono.
Yeah,
maybe you bring him in. You got Peyton Pritchard look. That's the crazy thing too, is that they got like Peyton Pritchard on like a $7 million deal. He's getting paid $7 million next year. Where are they going to get all of this money? Like you mentioned this earlier, like the second apron has created a hard cap in the NBA. Mm-hmm. The Celtics are like, watch me.
Yeah.
Like they're going, what second hard cap?
This is what you can
kill you.
This is like if you've got a terminal disease and you know what's coming and you're like, I'm going to go do my bucket list. That's what Wick Grusbeck is doing right now because he's selling off the team. And he's like, not my problem.
Not today.
I want a title. I'm going to go get another one or try to go get another one and maybe one more. So yeah, push all the chips in. I'll pay for this. And I know that I don't have to deal with this going forward.
That's crazy.
Pretty genius, if you ask me.
It is, but it's a crazy man's move.
It's like, screw it. I'm getting out. Let you deal with this going forward. And if you look at the way that it was written, it's like he's going to be the operating governor through 2028.
Yeah.
So like you're the new ownership coming in, and you get to sit there and enjoy the potential title if they win another one of, being a minority shareholder, because that's what they're going to do. They're going to buy in piece by piece by piece over 4 years.
By 2028, the majority ownership will be
Whoever
whoever's
ends up-
coming in.
Yes, but in that period, you don't have say. He's still going to be the majority shareholder, much like we see in Minnesota with the Timberwolves, where they looked at Rodriguez and Laurie and went, "Nah, I'm the majority shareholder. We're going to do what I want."
Yep.
Which is Glenn Taylor, which I think he has them by like 1%.
I can't believe that this is happening right now in Minnesota, because this is not
all of the good things while the ownership is
Yeah.
in court trying to litigate who actually owns the team.
Yeah. And can they pull the rug out from underneath the people who have bought the team from them? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Absolutely insane, to be completely honest. All right, we'll put a little bow on today's show with a little bit of college football news. Coming up here next around Danny and Dusty, 10 to the Fan. right, some college football news and notes. As the Mountain West is moving to the home of Turner Sports.
Whoa!
There you go. Catch your hot Mountain West action across the Turner Sports family of networks, as well as the Oregon State Beavers and Washington State Cougars making their move to the WCC official in all sports except for football, where they will be an independent.
Yeah, well,
Or not WCC.
No, they are for all other sports.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All
My
those
apologies.
sports, yeah.
For 12,
Not paying attention over here.
So basketball, soccer, baseball,
I gotcha.
softball, all
I'm an
that.
idiot.
They will be. They actually July 1 was the day, and yesterday it was a sad day because look, we've mocked and made fun of the Pac-12 network for years because of how it was set up and operated. They had some really damn good people, and they actually put out a lot of really good content on the Pac-12 networks, and that went dark yesterday, which is a sad day because it's like the final nail in the coffin for the Pac-12 as we know it. And with Oregon State and Washington State playing in the WCC and all other sports, like that, look, there's no other way around it. It sucks right now, right?
Yes.
And we have this 2-year window where they got to hope and pray that something happens where they can get their seat back at the table. But the Turner Sports, so my understanding is that we're going to be seeing Mountain West football on True TV and then streaming on Max. That will not include the Beavs and the Cougs, though.
Yeah, they are not on.
They are not
on that slate.
They are not going to be a part of that deal. So you'll be able to see San Diego State play San Jose State, apparently, on True TV.
There you go.
And this is also Turner Sports needing to get back into sports because they don't got much right now.
I think you're also going to have
NBA leaving, and they have the NCAA basketball tournament as well, and then they're going to farm out some of the college football playoff games to TNT because of the fact that ESPN doesn't have enough space to fill, even though they have ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Plus, ESPN U. They got all of them, and they're like,
they don't want to relegate those playoff games to news or the U.
No. You don't want to do that.
Not only that, TNT no longer has basketball,
NBA,
so they got inventory slots.
Yeah, but this is a big change in the world of college sports because it's not just Oregon State and Washington State joining the WCC in all their sports besides football. It's also Texas, Oklahoma officially enter the SEC. If you're wondering when the rest of the Pac-12 teams find their new landing spots, August 1 is when they depart the Pac-12, and August 2 is the official start date for Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA in the Big Ten. You've got Cal, Stanford going to the ACC, and then the remaining schools, the remaining 5 schools will be headed to the Big 12 effective August.
There you go.
So we still got another month for that to happen. Apparently they're like in no man's land right now because you see the picture that was floating around Twitter. I haven't gone to the Pac-12 website, but somebody did a screenshot where all of the logos have been removed from the Pac-12 website except for Cougs and Beavs. Still hanging out on
Love to see it. You want a little sticker shock?
Oh, yeah.
Jason Tatum's 5-year, $315 million deal. In the 29-30 season,